So hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So today we will be learning React, and in particular we will learn the useRef hook that we have in React. So without wasting any time, let's get started.
So let's start with the useRef hook. So the first thing that we are going to learn is this use case, the first use case, manipulating the DOM with the ref. Sorry, it moved. Okay, no worries. So manipulating the DOM with the ref. So what do we mean by this? So why do we need to manipulate the DOM, and what is the use of this useRef hook in that? Okay, so let me show you an example. So you see here that we have an input element and then we have a button. Okay, so I need to focus this input on click of something. Now this is a button. It could be you need to focus maybe an input element, or maybe you need to focus some other element. It could be anything, but here in this example we are just taking an input element and a button. So on the click of this button, you see that when I click it, it is focused. Let me show you again. I click on this and it is focused again. So why do we need a ref for this? Let me show you. So if we go to the documentation, or let me just take you to the code part itself. So this is the code part. You see we have this button here, and when I click on this button, we have this function written. This will run. So what is happening here is this function will run and this will do the focus. It will make the focus to that element. This input element will be focused. And how is this happening? You see we have imported useRef hook from React, and then I have used this useRef hook. Now this is a ref. Now I am passing this reference into this input element. See, this is a ref prop and I'm passing this input ref that we created. Now this input ref refers to that input element itself. So here when this handle click runs, so input ref dot current, this is our input element. So where did this dot current came from? So actually this useRef returns us an object, and that object has a key current, and the value is set to that element. So when I say that input ref dot current, I get that particular input element and I am saying to focus it. So now let's move ahead and let me show you why do we need this. Why do we need to access the DOM element? So useRef basically does this, as I show you again. So manipulating the DOM with the ref. So we get access to that DOM element directly. So what do I mean by this, that we get access to the DOM element directly? Don't we have access to the DOM element directly in React? So no, that is not the case. Let me show you here. So in React, whenever we make any change to our application, the DOM is not updated directly. It is not. So what happens is, in React, whenever we make any change, the virtual DOM is updated, and React, with the help of its diffing algorithm, will update the real DOM. So you see here, we need access to this DOM. In this case, in the example that I showed you, we need to focus that element. So we need to access that element directly, that DOM element directly. So that is why we need the useRef hook. So now you understand that whenever we want to access that DOM element directly, we need a useRef hook. So this was the first use case. Let me show you the second use case.
So the next use case is whenever we want to refer a value with a ref. So what do we mean by this? So sometimes in React, whenever we are updating some value, so there are two ways to store values in our React component. One is we can use the useState hook, and another is useRef. So why do we need useRef when we already have a useState hook? So the reason is very simple. Whenever we update our useState, whenever we update whatever is stored in the useState, our component will re-render. And whenever we update something that is stored in useRef, our component will not re-render. So the difference is really simple. Whenever we do not want our component to re-render, at that time we can use the useRef hook. Let me show you with an example. So here is an example. So we are storing this value. Currently the initial value is 0. We are storing this, and on the click on this button, this handle click will run. So you see here that we are updating on every click, we are updating this value by +1. We are referencing this value ref.current and we are updating it to +1. So whenever this value updates, our component will not re-render. Whereas if we were using useState hook to store this value, our component would re-render every time. So wherever this situation arises that we do not want our component to re-render, you can use this. So let me show you if our component is re-rendering or not. Let me do a console log. Okay, so you see here we have done a console log, and let's see if our component re-renders when I click on this, and I'll show you with the useState hook as well. So what happens when we use the useState hook? So let me inspect, let's go to console, let's clear the console out. So let me refresh. So this is the first time our component is mounting. So you see it is saying render. Okay, let me clear this out. Okay, now I click on this button. So you see that you clicked 1 times, but there is no console log. No matter how many times I click, you see I can see that you click 2 times. It is updating the counter, but the component is not re-rendering. So we are saving on the re-renders. So if we do not want unnecessary re-renders, in some cases, only in particular cases, only then we use this. Okay, let me show you what happens if I store this value, this counter in useState. Okay, so I am using the useState hook now. So okay, let's give it a value. Okay, let's call it state, state, and let's call it set state. By the way, you can give it any name that is not, although set and the name whatever give here, writing this is kind of a convention, but it is not necessary to use it. Okay, so the initial value in the use state is 0. So let me show you, let me comment this out now, and instead of this what we will do is write set state, and let's we can give it any name. Okay, state is, this is a callback function so that we always have the updated state +1. Okay, so we will set the state to state +1 every time, and alert will also give us the current state. I am so bad at writing this. Okay, but no worries, let me comment this out. Right now it is not needed. Okay, so I've stated, so what is happening whenever I click on this hand click, our state is being updated, and I am getting that you clicked state 1 times. Okay, so here we are. Let's clear this console and let me show you that this component will re-render every time I click on this. So let me refresh it once. So first time it will run because the component mounts. So I just have to show you that this console log will now run every time this handle click function runs. Because why? Because every time this handle click runs, this set state will run, which will update the state, and whenever we update the state, our component re-renders. So you see here, when I'll click on this, click me. Okay, so you see here this alert comes and this render also comes again. So again I do this, it comes again. I do this, it comes again. But there is one problem with this. You see I am getting you clicked 3 times whereas I have clicked 4 times. That is because we also have to do a +1 here, and that will solve our issue. Okay, so now it will solve our issue because we will be doing +1 and updating the state also. Now let me, you see you clicked 1 times, now it is perfect. You clicked 2 times, now it is good. So these were the 2 use cases. Now let's see the third thing that was I was going to show you, a live project use case. So this is something not available in the documentation. This is something which I encountered during I was working on a project. So what is this? Let me just show you. So now I will be using a use effect hook also that is available in React, and we will see something new here. So we have a useRef hook, of course we need that, but I want to show you something else, but for that I'll need the use effect hook. So for those who don't know what this use effect hook does is, so this use effect hook, whenever I write it, let me write it down first. So we'll pass a callback function into this. So this hook, whatever is inside this hook, will always run on the first mount if we give a blank dependency. So this will run If the dependency was not here, it will run on every re-render, but if I give a blank array, it will only run once. Okay, so let me write inside use effect hook. Okay, so this will run the first time this component mounts. So let me just show you. Let me go to the console. Okay, let's clear this. Okay, so now let me refresh. So you see that this re-render is running and this inside use effect hook is running. So why is it running twice? Let me check. I think we are in the strict mode. Let me remove the strict mode. Now it will not run twice. So this happens only in the development environment, not in the production environment. This is something for development purposes. You can read more about this in documentation. I'll not touch it for now, maybe in some other video. So let me refresh it. Okay, so now you see whenever the component mounts, the re-render runs and the inside use effect hook runs. So now it is running only once because I have removed the strict mode. Okay, so you see that this is running every time. So once I was working in a project wherein we had a use case that we had to show some history items on a page. So the use case was that whenever the component mounts for the first time, we should not show anything. The use effect should not run actually. Whatever is inside that use effect should not run for the very first time. Otherwise it should run always. So this was a use case I had, and this issue was solved with the help of useRef hook. So what we'll do here is, let's say the initial value is false. Okay, or let's give it true because it's the first mount. Let's give it true. So we will check here. If it is a first mount of this component, then we will not run this. Otherwise we will run this every time. Okay, so what we will check this, if this ref dot current is equal to true, so we just have to return. Okay, it will return from it. It will not console log this, and because it is the first time. Oh, so it is the first time. Also we will change the value of this current to false. Okay, so now what is happening is my component will render for the very first time. Let me comment this out. So whenever first time it will render, this use effect hook will run. It will check, okay, the ref dot current is true. Okay, so what it will do, it will set it to false and return. It will not log this. So this is useful when you want that your component's use effect should not run for the first time. Only then you can use it. So let's see. Okay, so now you see that I am refreshing and nothing is happening. Okay, let me console log this at least so that you will get to see something on the screen. So whenever I am refreshing this, let me clear this out. Let me refresh it again. So I'll refresh this. You see render is printed, is logged on the console, but you will not see this because it comes here and returns. So now let's say there is this component remounts again, re-renders again is the correct word to use. So then what will happen? Then of course, then this will run because now this ref dot current is set to false. Now every other time this will run. Okay, so I'll show you that this is not running the first time, but second time it will run. So what we will do is we will pass on some dependency here so that use effect runs multiple times on every re-render. So what we'll do is we will use a use state hook. So everything will make sense. Just bear with me for next 5 minutes. Okay, so let's do this. I removed that code I should not have, but no worries. Let's use the use state. Oh my bad. Use state hook. Let's keep the value as 0 initially. Okay, so it's state. Okay, comma. Okay, so what we will do is let's let's not use this. This is anyways not doing anything. Let's write set state and use a callback. Any name you can give here. Give state and then +1. Okay, so please don't mind my indentation, although I'm trying to indent the code properly. Okay, so what it's doing, it's setting the state to +1 every time. And let me also remove this alert for now. Let's only just set the state. Okay, so I told you that useRef effect we can give a dependency. So what is this dependency? So what I'm saying is, now this use effect hook will run the first mount. On the first mount this will run, and whenever the state changes it will run. So now when I click on this handle click, I'll see that this set state will run and this component will run again. This use effect will run again. Why? Because the state is changing. State is passed as in dependency here, and this will change whenever I click on this handle click. So this use effect will run again and again. So let me show you with an example. So let me refresh the component. So see, this is the first render. We did not print the inside use effect hook because this ran and it returned, so this was not printed. But now again when this use effect hook will run, so this will be printed. Why? Because now this ref.current is false. It will never go into this if block, and this console log will run every time. So when I'll click on this click me button, so this handle click will run, it will change the state, and if our state is changing, this use effect will run again. Let me show you. You see, I'll click on click me. See, it will run inside use effect. It is also running that, it is also printing that render again. Why? Because our component is re-rendering again. And why is it re-rendering? Because we are changing the state. Let me clear this out. See, it will again print inside use effect hook. Every time it will print that, both of that actually, because the component is re-rendering, this component is re-rendered, so this of course will print, and this use effect is also running now, so we are also console logging this. I hope this concept was clear. In any way you are not able to understand anything, please say it in the comments. I'll try my best to answer you, and also if anything is very important that I missed out, I'll make another video for sure. Thank you guys, thank you so much for watching this video.